You wake up before your alarm, not because you're excited, not because you slept well. You wake up because something in your chest is already running, already calculating, already preparing for a day that hasn't even started yet. And before your feet hit the floor, there's this quiet urgency, like you're already behind, like everything you did yesterday somehow doesn't count toward today, like the proof resets every single morning and you have to start earning again from zero. Most people would look at your life and say, you're doing great. And you would agree, because agreeing is part of the performance. That's kind of always been the deal. Here's the thing nobody actually says out loud. Some of the most exhausted people alive are people who never stopped performing. Not performing on a stage, performing in everyday life, performing competence, performing calm, performing I've got it handled. They've been doing it for so long, so consistently, that it stopped feeling like performance and started feeling like personality, like just who they are. But it's not who they are. It's who they learn to be under specific conditions, in a specific environment, for specific people. And they never got the memo that those conditions don't exist anymore. That gap right there, between who you are and who you trained yourself to be, is what we're going to sit inside today. And it matters more to your actual daily life than most things you've ever been told, read, or tried to fix about yourself. This isn't abstract psychology you can file away and forget. This is the exact reason you feel genuinely drained at the end of a day where nothing technically went wrong. It's why compliments don't land the way they should. It's why you finish one thing and immediately, reflexively, move to the next without ever pausing to actually receive what you just did. It's why sitting still feels vaguely irresponsible, like you're getting away with something. It's why vacations feel like something you have to recover from instead of recover during. Understanding this pattern, actually understanding it from the inside, not just recognizing it intellectually, can quietly change the way you move through every single day. Not because you'll suddenly become someone else, but because you'll stop spending so much energy fighting the version of yourself that's only trying to keep you safe. Now, let's go back to who you actually were. You were the good kid. Maybe not perfectly obedient, maybe not the top of every class, but you were the one who got it. You understood what adults needed before they said it. You adjusted your energy to match the room. You were responsible when other kids were chaotic, composed when things got tense, reliable in ways that people noticed and quietly came to depend on. Teachers liked you. Family members held you up as the example. And somewhere in the middle of all that positive reinforcement, something got written into your nervous system at a level deeper than conscious thought. Approval is safety. Performing well is how you stay loved. Staying useful is how you stay wanted. Nobody sat you down and said those words. They didn't have to. Your brain is incredibly efficient. It figured it out on its own, through repetition, through pattern recognition, through thousands of small moments where doing the right thing produced warmth and not doing it produced distance. That's all it took. Developmental psychologists call this conditional positive regard, a concept first mapped by Carl Rogers in the 1950s that has since been studied extensively in attachment research. It describes what happens when a child gradually internalizes that love, validation, and safety are things you earn through behavior rather than things you simply receive for existing. You don't grow up believing you're bad or unworthy. You grow up believing that being good is an ongoing performance, one you can never fully stop, because stopping feels like risk. And performances, by definition, don't have natural endings. There's no curtain. There's always another audience. There's always another show. The cost of being the good kid doesn't show up in childhood. Childhood is where it gets installed. The cost shows up later, in your 20s or 30s, the first time you realize you genuinely cannot stop, and you cannot explain why. It shows up when you're objectively successful by every external measure and still feel this low, persistent hum of not enoughness running underneath everything. It shows up when someone tells you they're proud of you, and instead of feeling that, you immediately start thinking about what you still need to do. Researchers at UC Berkeley studying high-achieving adults found something that looks almost contradictory on the surface. People who report the most external accomplishments also report the highest rates of chronic low-grade anxiety, not because success creates anxiety, but because the same psychological wiring that drives the achievement never shuts off. The engine that got you here has no idle setting. You can't turn it down because it was never designed with that function. And this is where neuroscience adds something most people never hear about themselves. When a child learns that their emotional environment is contingent on their behavior, the brain physically adapts to that reality. Specifically, the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for planning, anticipating consequences, and self-regulation, develops a kind of hypervigilance. It stays on. It scans constantly. It prepares for problems before they exist. In the short term, this is a gift. It's why you're good at your job. It's why people trust you with important things.
It's why you rarely drop the ball when everyone around you seems to be dropping theirs constantly.
But that same brain doesn't easily switch into a rest state. And a chronically activated prefrontal cortex means your nervous system is running a background program of low-level threat detection virtually every hour you're awake. Not paranoia, not clinical anxiety, though it sometimes becomes that. Just this quiet, expansive alertness, like you are always, in some small way, slightly braced, like some part of you is always standing at the door. Psychologists call this hypervigilant coping. It develops as a completely rational response to environments where things could go wrong, emotionally, relationally, sometimes financially. The kid who learned to read the atmosphere in a room, manage the emotional temperature, be the stabilizing presence when things got unstable, that kid grows into an adult who still performs all of those functions automatically, in relationships, in workplaces, in their own internal dialogue, in the way they respond to silence in a text thread or an unread email. The behavior that once kept them safe keeps them striving now. It's not dysfunction. It's a survival strategy that simply outlived the environment it was designed for. And this matters because it means you're not doing anything wrong. You're doing exactly what you were trained to do. The problem is that the training never ended. This pattern doesn't only live in high-pressure households. Some of the most persistent cases come from genuinely loving homes. Homes where parents were warm, present, and driven, but where expectations were the invisible wallpaper. Where love was real, but achievement was the assumed baseline. Where good was not celebrated because it was expected. And where falling short, even once, produced a kind of quiet disappointment that landed far heavier than any punishment would have. You were loved. You just learned, slowly and without anyone intending it, that love comes with conditions. And you have been managing those conditions, internally, ever since, even long after the people who set them are gone from your daily life. Now here's the layer that tends to catch people off guard. The same trait that has cost you so much rest, this relentless drive, this inability to stop, this compulsion to prove, is also genuinely one of the most remarkable things about you. The consistency, the follow-through, the fact that when you say you'll do something, it actually gets done. In a world full of people who mean well and disappear. These are not small things. In most environments, they are rare things. The problem has never been the trait itself. The problem is that you never develop the internal capacity to receive the credit for it. You produce the output, and you feel almost nothing, or a brief flicker, then the next task. Because receiving was never part of the reward structure. Only the doing was ever enforced. So you became exceptional at doing, and completely unpracticed at receiving. You mastered output. Satisfaction never got a chance to develop. What's equally true and important to hold on to, you are not broken. The pressure you carry is not a character flaw, and it is not ingratitude. It is not weakness dressed up as drive, or ambition masking emptiness. It is the entirely predictable, well-documented outcome of a nervous system that was shaped by years of contingent reward. A nervous system that learned, with great accuracy, what the world seemed to require. That's not a deficit. That's an adaptation. And adaptations, by definition, made sense at the time they formed. The fact that it still runs today, even when the original circumstances are long gone, is not failure. It's just a system that never received the update it needed. Here is one practical shift that creates real measurable change, not in a dramatic overnight way, but in a way that accumulates. Stop waiting to feel finished before you allow yourself to rest. That feeling will never arrive on its own, because your nervous system was never trained to produce it. So instead, you create the ending manually. Each day, at a specific and deliberate time, you look at what actually happened, what you actually did, and you say out loud if you need to, "This was enough for today." Not because everything is done, it never is, but because the day happened, you were present inside it. Real things moved forward, and that is what a complete day looks like. You're not lowering your standards. You're teaching your brain a new rule. The performance has a closing time. Safety doesn't require perfection to be maintained. The loop is allowed to close. Practice that for 3 weeks. Don't change anything else. Just watch what shifts, not in your circumstances, but in the internal weather. The way evenings start feeling different. The way you wake up slightly less braced. The way a compliment starts to land a half-second longer before you deflect it. If this reached something real in you, there's another layer worth going into. Because this pattern doesn't only live in how you work or achieve. It lives in how you love, how you fight, how you respond to being wrong, and most of all, in how you handle being truly seen by another person. That part of the story may be the most revealing layer of all.